to start off on something that, is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see SpaceX valuation went up to $350 billion?
Because of
It
course.
did.
Yeah, and I have some thoughts about it. Like, here's my thing with SpaceX that I've like tried to wrap my head around. It's a great idea, right? Like, the idea that you would put low Earth orbit satellites in and give everyone, cell service. It's like a good idea. That being said, I'm not really sure why it has valuation. Like, what the fuck is the point of all this shit we're shooting to space? Is SpaceX literally just like government contracts? That's what people that are like buying the IPOs are relying on? Like, what is SpaceX going to do? It's going to ship us to Mars. Who the fuck cares? What are you going to do there? What are you going to do there that you can't do here? I don't understand.
Off.
I guess, low oxygen level. Anyway, so Barbara,
Some
again,
people might be
appreciate
into
it.
that.
Thank you. Barbara, appreciate it. Can we get some dubs and drums for that? But I just don't understand. So SpaceX, it obviously has the Starlink thing, and this is my thoughts on that. Their dish technology is relatively like it uses, I guess, a similar stuff. I'm not an expert in it, but it's new. And so they've had to invest a bunch of time in research and development and whatever. But then you have Amazon that's just sort of like sitting, that meme with that guy in the bushes, and he's like, or no, who's that guy? He's like, or whatever. That's what they're doing. Like, because they're planning on putting it out in a few years from now, like getting theirs all up and launched and whatever. And so they have a network. And I'm just like, how can Starlink compete? Like, they're going to get a bunch of new customers, right? And then you're going to have cheaper equipment, of which they have 3 million customers right now. Appreciate it. And when people go to start transferring over, there's a lot of people that don't go to Starlink because they have Dish or they have HughesNet. That's who they're targeting, right? Is like those rural areas that don't have good internet access. And when this shit hits Amazon, and all of these older people are like, holy shit, I can get a Dish out here. Amazon is going to be able to sell them without having to factor in research and development because it's already been done. It's like, just business sniping when like Qdoba comes in and then Chipotle and they all sort of like steal off each other until one comes into that's kind of what's happening. So like when I look at the business model of Starlink, it's like, okay, it's the best now, but in like 5 years from now, when like mobile satellite is on everybody's Amazon page, are they really going to go over to Starlink for it? Would there really be a benefit to that? So they may hold off on customers and be able to price compete because they don't have a ton of overhead. But I'm not really sure what how they're planning on competing when Amazon's inevitably comes out. And I'm not sure how far along they are with it, but I saw 2028 is what I thought. And the same thing goes for Tesla, right? The same thing goes for Tesla. Like, Tesla is a car company that is competing against increasingly better tech, and they've sort of maxed out what they can charge to a consumer in terms of like software, tech, or whatever. All of these things, like, most people don't give a shit. I know I don't. I just want a radio that works and a car that drives pretty well. And if it looks all right, that's cool. So they have a luxury car model that's going to be competing against lower end models with comparable rates or with comparable stuff. It's like computers, right? Like, you could buy the more expensive model, and this is just with a smaller purchase. You could buy the more expensive model, but it's not going to do that much more for you unless you do that for a living. So it's kind of like those middle end laptops are like amazing. They're absolutely great. And so they're going to be competing against better, like lower quality, or not lower quality, but cheaper and comparable. Like, what are you really going to offer, It's not going to be like a car, or a car's not going to be like Apple where they like screw you over on the storage so that they can make more money. So I kind of feel that way about both Tesla and SpaceX. And Twitter is on the decline as well, and it's being replaced. So like Blue Sky is doing
Quickly.
really well. I mean, losing 20 million, Tesla has ugly cars. I agree. They're like kind of better Priuses. And I would rather have a Prius. If I was going to have, I would much rather have a Prius.
I'd be so pissed after I bought the satellite for $700. They just up and canceled me.
Oh yeah, yeah, I'd be furious. But anyways, Blue Sky's doing really well in that regard, and so like I'm just kind of interested about Tesla's business models. Like Hyperloop, it became really apparent really quickly by experts it's just not possible, which is why it was largely abandoned. And he actually admitted, I think Bill sent this to me. Someone sent this to me. He actually admitted that he made up the Hyperloop thing so that he could stop high-speed rail. And the Boring Company was a complete failure. So like he's just like, it really is amazing what hype can buy you and hype can do for you. No one cares about your opinion. That's why I've been a content creator for 4 fucking years. Yeah, Jesus, you're fucking clueless. Anyway, so that's kind of where we are with that. Hyperloop was no. I mean, it's just basically a high-speed rail that they tried to vacuum out oxygen to. The problem is there's too many openings and it's not doable. High-speed rail is doable. Unfortunately, that's kind of a disaster in California, but
Yeah.
yeah. Unfortunately, like
Why? What's
right
wrong with it in
now,
California?
they have like they're way backed up.
You
And it's way
stalled it?
over budget. Yeah. It's way backed up, way over budget. It was supposed to go from LA to San Francisco. Um, what was that travel time? Like an hour and a half? I think it was like an hour and a half.
Would have been nice.